Hello everyone and welcome to our new video. In this, we are going to discuss about ISTIO. Okay, so we are going to give a complete overview of the ISTIO, and basically ISTIO is a service mesh. So we are going to understand what is service mesh, okay, what ISTIO does, and what can ISTIO do for you, okay, and the major features of the ISTIO. So this will be our agenda throughout the video. We are going to focus on these four things in order to move ahead and learn on more about the ISTIO. So we are going to create a series on the ISTIO with full theory as well as the practical sessions so that you can have the hands-on knowledge about the ISTIO. So let's get started, and we are going to start with what is service mesh, because ISTIO is a service mesh. There are other service mesh which is also available, but the ISTIO is by far the most commonly used and has wide range of features. That's why we are going to discuss about it. So what is service mesh? Now, if you are working on a microservices based architecture in which each microservices itself act like a application. So you are going to have individual containers which does a particular job or a work, okay? Then you will find that because your overall application will comprise of multiple microservices, so there will be multiple containers which will be running, and each of these services containers will be interacting with each other, okay? And these interaction will be there will be a lot of intercommunication between these services and the containers, which forms your backend, okay? All of these communications and interactions between these services and the containers makes up your service mesh. Now, so what does Istio do, right? Because we already know we have Kubernetes in place for running the services and the containers. So why we need Istio in first place? Now, when you are running these microservices, Istio can help you with the service discovery in a containerized environment. So it can automatically detect your services, it can configure the routes, it can configure the traffic for the services intercommunication between these services, so they can talk to each other, okay? Istio offers you the load balancing, okay? And you can do a failure recovery, okay? So if suppose your container gets failed, then your traffic itself is not going to fail, because Istio can detect that failure and route the traffic accordingly. Now, Istio can actually provide you the metrics to see how your containers are getting used, and then you can make sure that your containers, like if suppose my service is having multiple containers, then the containers are used in equal ratio so that all the containers are getting used. This will increase my capacity, the fault tolerance, like these things. And basically this metrics, right now we do deploy like this in Kubernetes, but we don't eventually get a metrics. Now there are obviously some other tools through which, but we can get these kind of specific matrices, but then you have to define it. But Istio just comes built in. So when you deploy Istio, all these matrices is a part of Istio, and you automatically get access to all these matrices. Now, Istio can help you in rate limiting. This is one of the most important feature, because each of the microservices, if you are getting a very large amount of hits, then it can become a challenge very quickly. Like if you are getting a lot many requests from a single user, then you have to limit that. Otherwise, the availability of your microservices gets affected. This is where the rate limiting comes in, and Istio can help you put a rate limiting if you are using that within your microservices environment. Now, Istio can help you generate the audit trail for the ingress and egress traffic, the traffic which is coming in and going out from your uh, cluster. So Istio can generate a trail of it, which can help you analyze how the requests are coming in, from where it's coming in, like more data about it, right? More information about these kind of requests. Now, Istio can analyze the data within your overall infrastructure and provide you some insights, like what is going inside your container or your service mesh, right? So it can provide you meaningful insights which do have actionable items, and you can better understand your infrastructure. Because when you start running the infrastructure on scale in a containerized environment like Kubernetes, then it quickly scales up, and it's very hard to determine what is actually happening inside that, right? So Istio can get those kind of insights to you. Now, suppose if you are having multiple Kubernetes cluster and you want a communication between these clusters, then Istio can help you with that. And not only with the intercommunication between the clusters, it can also help you with the communication being all the services being communicating in an encrypted manner, right? So all the data between these communication will remain encrypted. That is another thing that you can achieve with the Istio. Now, you can enforce the policies on the containers so that they do not expose anything over the internet, right? This increases the security of your application itself, because if the containers are exposed, then there can be different sorts of attacks which can be done, right? So you can actually lock out your containers directly inside the service mesh so that these containers are not getting exposed, and this improves your overall security as well. Okay. Next is it allows you to have identity-based authentication and authorization. Okay, like for example, consider that your front-end server will only accept the request from the backend. Now, if someone else is trying to make some request, or it is trying to connect, so it will not be able to do that, right? It can only accept the request from your backend. You can implement these kind of policies with the help of Istio, which increases the overall security and helps in the authentication and authorization within your infrastructure. Now, it can actually prevent the spillover, okay, in case of a security issue. Like suppose if your application is having some bugs and it get compromised, then it can reduce the spillover to the other containers which are running in the environment, because now you are having a proper policies in place. Like your front end can only get the request from a specific backend. So if someone is trying to get access to the other containers, he cannot get those kind of access, right? So this actually increases your security, right? So that is what Istio can do for you, and these things become more generalized. Like this becomes more and more important as you grow in scale, right? So you have to take care of all these things. Now, what can Istio do for you? Okay, so Istio can control all of the traffic patterns in your application. Okay, so for controlling this traffic pattern, like how your traffic is coming in, going out, logging, right? All these things that we discussed, how it's able to do it using the Envoy proxy, okay, which acts like a sidecar, okay, for all the containers. So if you are using the Docker containers, then Istio has a dashboard, and it can directly inject these sidecar Envoy proxy into your Docker containers, right? So it acts like a sidecar, which can be done directly through the Istio console. Now, in case of Kubernetes, there is we literally insert a sidecar, okay, with the pod, and Envoy proxy is deployed into each of the pods. So all the pods that are going to run, each of those pods are going to have an Envoy proxy, okay, which allows you to have the authentication, authorization, and encryption in place. Now, because this is a proxy which is acting in between, so you have a total control over the traffic inside your service mesh, and you can put all these policies, get more insights. That is why we use this Envoy proxy, okay, as a sidecar across all our pods in the Kubernetes. So this is how Istio provides you the overall data and the information, like what is happening inside your service mesh. So when we are going to discuss in this series, we are basically going to focus our feature. We are going to focus on three major features which the Istio has to provide. That is, we are going to focus on traffic management, because with the help of traffic management, the Istio of Istio, you can do the canary testing. Now, canary testing is very important because it helps you to evaluate your newer versions of the application. So suppose if you have a newer version of the application and you don't want to divert all the traffic, because if you divert all the traffic and if there is some issue, then your end customers can get affected, right? So if you don't want to do that, you can transfer the traffic incrementally. Like you can initially send 10% of your customers from the entire 100% traffic to the newer application version, and then gradually increase that traffic, right? This is going to reduce the issues. Suppose if your even a newer version is having some issues, only 10% of your customers will get affected, which is much better than directly making the another application up and then falling back, right? So that is why the canary testing becomes so important in a larger environment. Similarly, Suppose if you want to route the request on the basis of geo location or geolocated IP addresses, okay, then you can actually show the different versions of your page, like based on these local languages or the customizations that you have on the basis of different geography. So you can actually do that with the help of Istio, right? It allows you to route on the basis of geolocated IP address as well. Or if you have like certain considerations for some customer profiles and you want to show them some unique data which is customized to them, their requirement, then if you have those kind of data points for your customers, the Istio can help you route the request accordingly so that they get access on the basis of the data points that you have for your customers. This means more businesses opportunities for the business if they can achieve this, and Istio can help you with that. Now, next is security, authentication, and authorization. We already have touched base on this when we discuss about the front end and the back end accepting the traffic only from the backend servers, right? With the help of the network policies that the Istio can configure for you. So when a container is spun up, basically Istio is going to assign it identity. Okay, it's going to have certain rules and policies which are set up with the help of like a access control list, basically the ACLs that we say, which allows the services to communicate with a certain number of pods and services to which we have configured these ACLs for. Then only basically these can communicate with those pods and services, right? So this is how it puts the security, authentication, and authorization in place. So this will be our second focus, and the third focus will be on the logging. So if you look at Istio, Istio provides you with a very robust logging. It lets you see what is going inside your service mesh. Okay, it provides you with a dashboard, right, which we also discussed earlier. So this is a part of your installation. When you install the Istio, you also get a dashboard, and this dashboard is basically built in the Grafana, which provides you insights from your container, your services, what is happening inside them. Okay, if you suppose if you want to do a failure testing, because this is very important, when the application fails, you should have a clear idea what all services are getting affected with it, what you can expect, what will happen, like because these are all interconnected, right? So we do the failure testing. If you do a failure testing, then it will show you how your system gets recovered overall, and because it does a logging, so you can go through it and then eventually figure out how your overall system is getting recovered, right? This will help you have better understanding about your complex systems that we create through the microservices kind of infrastructure. So basically, Istio obfuscates the container from the underlying backend, due to which the Istio acts like a proxy. So what this means is that it reduces it removes the dependency of the container from the backend or the hardware, right, on which it is running, because now that all the traffic is going through this proxy that we have put in between, basically the envoy proxy we are talking about. So once you have the proxy in place, now you have the absolute control over the identity, routing policies, securities, and everything, right? Because now everything is routing through this proxy, and you can get these matrices and points which will show you in a more recognizable way. That way, you are able to get all the control over the traffic which is routing through your service mesh. Okay. So basically, if you look at Istio, Istio acts like an extra layer, right? Because we are inserting envoy proxy in between now, through which all the traffic is getting routed. So it acts like an extra layer that allows the container to operate basically much the same way like we do in the data center. So what we do in the data center, like it's a little bit old way that we used to do. But in the data center, we used to create a lot of routers which allow the traffic in the certain areas and block it in the other areas, right? With the help of the MAC addresses and the access control list. This is the same thing which the Istio is doing for you, but this is inside a containerized environment. This is basically inside your service mesh, right? So, and it is all is done programmatically, while in case of data center, it was done with the help of these routers and the access controllers. So basically, this is what Istio does for you. And this is essential when you have a number of clusters to be managed and security is of prime importance, and you want to still have the full control and full insights what is happening inside your cluster. This will really help being helpful when you face issues, right? And those cases you will be able to pinpoint and get better RCS for your services. So that is what you can expect from the ISTIO. I have covered this in quite detail so that you have full understanding why there is a need to learn the ISTIO so much, because this is like when you move into the Kubernetes over a period of time, you will realize that there is a great need for Istio when you create these CI/CD pipelines in order to manage more efficiently the containerized environment. So that's all for this video. If you have not subscribed to our channel, I will suggest you to subscribe to our channel, and do let us know in comment if you have any doubt. We will try to get back to you. That's all for this video. Thank you. See you in next video. Thanks, everyone.